Good evening. As you can see, we're back on cows. And no, I'm not saying I'm one, but this is like Groundhog Day. They can't make their mind up. 1 minute they're saying yes, and I did the video on it. That's still up. I can't believe it's still up. You know, they're basically saying yes. You know, we do have some treatments that have been put into our animals, and it does be passed down through their products into human activities and human life, human food supply. And then the next day they fact check it. No, it's wrong. And this is from this morning. This came out this morning to me, to my Google alerts. And they're basically saying, yes, look, I can't get rid of this because obviously I'm not a subscriber. These people here at Spectator, obviously they're an Australian organisation. I have to give them kudos and thumbs up for at least being honest. They've highlighted this. I'm sure they'll get backlash from it. I'm sure I will. But as they say in these first few statements, after the spectacular failure of mRNA vaccines in human trials, the agricultural industry is pushing ahead with mRNA vaccines for livestock engaged in the food industry. So that's quite alarming, isn't it? So I had a look at these people that Meat and Livestock Australia, the MLA, and where are they? No, that's not them. They're here. Here they are. MLA funds mRNA technology project. I can't even speak. I'm tongue-tied with all of this. So they're funding it. Did you see that? They're funding it. So they're giving money to the government. You can go onto their website. They talk about how wonderful their supply is with the Australian meat. We have 3% of the world's supply of beef, and you have the EU has 11%. So they're basically saying that comparison, our meat supply is very, very negligible. So I'll link this underneath, and you can look this up yourself. So it's quite alarming to find that they've funded, their MLA funds mRNA technology. There you go, they are funding it. Then the government, of course, is backing up on it. So we go back to this here, announces funding for a project. Yes, that makes it a bit ambiguous as to who's putting the money up, whether it's a government or not. But anyway, lumpy skin disease. We talked about that in the other video. That's what they were saying in Indonesia. They have a lot of lumpy skin disease, but it gets quite alarming because they're saying here, the project will develop an mRNA vaccine pipeline, which means, that it's not going to end. A pipe, keeps continuously allowing things to flow in. For LSD, lumpy skin disease, but potentially for other emerging diseases. This will enable captivity for rapid mass production of vaccines for LSD in the event of an outbreak. But this is in the event. So this is where it gets a bit ambiguous. Look at this. No LSD, no lumpy skin disease vaccines are registered for use in Australia yet. What does that tell me? My brain says, well, if we don't have any vaccines for lumpy skin disease registered in Australia, which means in use in Australia, maybe it means that we don't have any threat with lumpy skin disease. So are they going to try to bring lumpy skin disease in here? Mark my words, let's see what happens. Anyway, and they're talking about yet, because they're going to be the first. Whilst some vaccines exist overseas, a path to registration in Australia for traditionally produced vaccines is longer than that of the mRNA vaccine. Well, we know all of that. But anyway, you can read all of this yourself. So they're talking about the application of things. So they lied when they said, no, they've checked and that there have been no mRNA, no, there's no vaccines been put into animals in Australia. It's a load of bullshit. It's the only thing that's bullshit is the shit that's coming out of their mouths, not out of the cows. And that then, of course, was our health minister, Mr. Hunt, not the city man, the country Hunt man. And then later on today, I actually got another Google alert. That was this morning, and then this afternoon, this one came out. livestock health mRNA vaccines versus conventional vaccines. Once again, a poor cow. And it says here, this I thought was quite cryptic and a bit shocking, because this is from today. A couple of months ago, a video was posted on social media that messenger RNA, mRNA, vaccine technology was being used on cattle. Of course, this was and is false. Wow. This one here, and when is this from? Let's have a look at the date. Oh, here, June the 3rd, and we're now June the 15th. It took a day or two to get to me. So they're saying it's false. Of course, this was and is false information. But here, they're saying they're funding technology to do this. Now this won't go away. See what I mean? They don't like it, you see. And they're funding mRNA technology. The project will develop a pipeline for LSD, but potentially for other emerging diseases. So which one do you believe? Which one do you believe? These people here that are doing it, they're funding it. And they are, these people, of course, don't forget who they are. And they're saying it, they're funding it. And this is May. This is even earlier. This is a couple of months ago. So for these people to come out and say, and I keep going over this, I know I do. You can read about the difference between it yourself. I didn't get that far into it because I just got a bit overwhelmed with this false allegation. Of course, this was and is false information. But it did raise multiple concerns, and statements were released from NCBA to confirm that the technology is not being used on cattle. Is not being used on cattle. It's being used in cattle. See what I mean? So theoretically, he wouldn't be lying. If he went and took a lie detector test and the question was phrased in that way, is that being used on cattle? He could say, no, it's not. And he would not come up as a deceptive or dishonest comment or showing some type of deception, because on is when they'll do the drenching for fleas and ticks and other things and other sort of skin-based diseases which are topical. But if they said if it was used in cattle, not on but in cattle, and he said no, then he would come up obviously as a deceptive thing, because his internal guts would be telling him that what he said was a misleading statement. That's where you have to look at the words. So here, let's just see. There's some adverse advantages. Stimulates a more strong, rapid and longer lasting immunity. Like live vaccines versus modified live, disadvantages. Killed vaccines. I don't understand what all that means. Advantages, disadvantages. mRNA vaccines. A relatively new type of vaccine. An example is the COVID-19 vaccine. The vaccines carry genetic material, the messenger RNA, which tells the body how to make a protein. Now, this is quite... It would be false information to say that messenger RNA vaccine for cattle did not exist. In fact, local studies have been conducted on cattle at some research facilities. But here is the important thing for you to know. None of the trial vaccines are USDA approved for use in cattle. Well, we're not talking about cattle in America. We're talking about Australia. We're talking about around the world. So once again, misleading conduct, leading statements, misrepresentation of questions. This means that the mRNA technology vaccines cannot be used. If you did see the statement from NCBA, I've included it along with additional information. Yeah. Yeah. But Australia is rolling it out, which is quite alarming, that Australia is rolling that crap out. And where do I have it? There we go. mRNA vaccines fast-tracked for Australian agriculture. There you go. We're the guinea pigs, guys. The Northern Hemisphere were the guinea pigs, firstly with the CVs, but now it's us for our animals. These poor little babies. But anyway, just remember that statement there. Spectacular failure. I love the word spectacular. It's wonderful, isn't it? I love the English language. It's beautiful. But anyway, please look after yourselves, look after your family, look after your friends, and remember, be true to yourself, be kind, be generous, and tell people this information. It will all be linked down below. And I say, Godspeed to all. Godspeed.
It makes me sick what I do for this